Welcome to another episode of the Aartech Pro Connect podcast, where we connect the industry experts to the industry pros with real conversations. I'm Allie, and this week Jeff and I are talking with Rebecca Henderson to learn more about the Resideo Smart Home Comfort ecosystem, which includes both First Alert and Honeywell Home under its umbrella. Let's dive in and explore the next level of home comfort.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for another Aartech Pro Connect podcast. We're joined today by Rebecca Henderson from the Resideo team. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Looking forward to getting started here today. And I know we've got a webinar later today as well that hopefully a few viewers might be on or might have already seen by the time they see this. But before we get started here real quick, do you want to take maybe just 30 seconds, Rebecca, and explain your role and how you work with us at Resideo?
Yeah. So my name's Rebecca Henderson. I've been in the industry for a very long time. I'm a licensed G2 gas technician that decided to get out of the trade and do more consulting and sales. And so I joined a sales agency that represents a bunch of different products. And Resideo is definitely probably our anchor line. It's Honeywell Home. A lot of people are more familiar with the Honeywell name. And so we sell a lot of home comfort products, and we deal with Aartech on those products, and specifically a lot of smart home options. That seems to be a lot of the focus between the two, and yeah, we do a lot of business together.
I appreciate that. And you know, we're not going to get super technical today, Rebecca. You and I talked about that before. Really, the intent is this is more about what installers can actually do with Resideo that they may not know today.
For sure.
Yeah, and ultimately the goal today for us and our team is get you as an installer thinking, I could start doing more of this today. You know, whether you're doing a little or none of this already, I think the intent is you can take it one or two steps further immediately. So that's kind of the intent here. So let's just dive right in for the sake of time here. I'll throw this at you, Rebecca, and you kind of already touched on this already. Most of our customers know Honeywell, but I don't think many realize how far things have gone beyond, say, just the thermostats. Can you talk to that a little bit, maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Honeywell was is still a massive company with many different divisions, and Home Comfort division was spun off in 2018, and they decided to call it Resideo and give it its own name. They still have legal rights to use the name Honeywell Home for a certain time period. But Resideo has a wide range of products. They do thermostats as the most commonly known product, but they do a lot of hydronic and water products, a lot of combustion products, gas valves and controls. They get into a lot of indoor air quality, so humidifiers, dehumidifiers, HRVs and ERVs. They filters, security products, as you guys know, security systems, and also the First Alert group, which is part of Resideo, which does like smoke detectors and fire safety stuff. And then we also have doorbells and cameras, a lot of different products on that Resideo site.
Okay, so let me ask you an impossible question. Excuse me, because I know I told you we talked briefly before this about who potentially may be listening to this, so it is a bit vague. But if I'm an installer who's used Honeywell thermostats specifically for years, what am I probably missing as kind of a next first step? You listed a lot of things there, some of which are specialized, some of which are a little bit higher level. What would you say if somebody's been doing thermostats for a couple of years now? What's a good jumping off point?
So I think what a lot of guys are missing on or not knowing is that there's a wide range of products that are all smart capable. And what Resideo is trying to do is they're trying to tie a lot of these different products into one platform. Because I think we're seeing a lot of people now are controlling different smart home devices from multiple different apps, and it's a bit of a pain to go into all these different apps. And so Resideo decided to tie in some of these products like indoor air quality or water leak detection into the same platform, so that now you're not just opening 10 different apps for all these different things. You can kind of combine a lot of your home smart products onto one platform. A lot of guys don't know that there's all these other products available. And so they just are hyper focused on the thermostats.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the app thing real quick. Obviously, in my position, I don't have as many customer conversations as I used to. But when I first started, that was the pushback. Hey, Jeff, I want one app. Not going to
Yeah.
happen. Just not happening. And I
Yeah.
would literally suggest to installers, listen, take your customer's phone and build a folder and call it automation, call it this, and drop all the apps in there so at least it's one spot. Bit of a
Right.
workaround, but that was kind of the only option at the time. So yeah, I think you're bang on with that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's important. And I mean, everybody is going smart home on so many different products now. Like it started out with, a couple little things. But Resideo's even collaborated now with some outside companies like Leviton Switches and Garage Door Genie and Quick Set Locks. They've kind of collaborated with a few different other companies too, so that now you can even add in products onto their app that aren't their products. There's somebody else's products, but again, it's a way to put one platform for multiple devices.
Yeah, I mean, a few more people are playing like that, but a lot of the companies out there for automation, especially with the ecosystem that you have, try to be proprietary. I like the fact that you guys are trying to play with others, as I like to say. I think, to your point, I've got a little condo. I've got a 900 square foot condo. I've got 6 brands in my house alone, not to mention the
Right.
Alex A, right? So, yeah, I definitely think that's a big part of it for sure.
Yeah, I
And
think
Nick,
it's realistic too, right? I don't think anybody is able to do everything for one homeowner. So I think it was a realistic viewpoint that, they knew that other people would want to combine things, right?
yeah, no, I like that. That's definitely a key point. And really, it's the ecosystem that I want to focus on a tiny bit today without going into too much of a product dive by any means. But you mentioned QuickSet. Now, this is actually me asking a legitimate question outside of my own knowledge. Does that include Wiser then up here?
That I'm not 100% sure. I know Slage is one of the companies, and I know Quickset, and I'm not sure Quickset's tied in with Wiser somehow. But it is Slage and Quickset is listed on their app.
Perfect. Now, I want to go a little bit on First Alert. I didn't have this in my agenda here, but I do want to talk about that because that's a big seller for us and for a lot of our installers. Now, can they merge the two apps there? Does First Alert tie into the whole ecosystem, or is that its own app?
No, they've actually put everything to First Alert now, which is
Okay.
amazing because it used to be thermostats were on the Resideo or the Total Connect Comfort app, and home fire safety, smoke detectors and CO detectors and stuff were always on a completely different app. So First Alert, they've now combined everything, so you can now do water leak detection. You can do your SC5 smoke detector, smoke and CO detector. You can do indoor outdoor cameras, a doorbell. They also are working with Ring, with the Amazon Ring doorbell, so you can actually have your Ring doorbell uh, tied into your Elite Pro thermostat, where somebody rings the doorbell, it pops up on your thermostat. You can see who's at the door.
Yeah, it's a great
So yeah,
feature.
they're really starting to combine or try and get everything all on one app. It's
And
great.
a little bit of a side note here. Where do you guys get a lot of your innovations from? Like that, to be able to display that on the thermostat, I think is absolutely genius, to be honest. I mean, we sell a lot of devices that are hundreds of dollars, maybe even $1,000 or so, to put up that sort of a device where you can see the information. So, is that customer feedback? Is that designers and developers internally, or a bit of everything?
So Residio often talks of VOC, the voice of customer, and the voice of the customer is huge to them. So it absolutely is. I mean, it's big in Canada, but it's massive in the United States. And the United States, of course, gets a lot of feedback from a lot of large contractors. So I think a combination of, sort of the feedback that's coming from the wholesalers and the feedback that's coming from the contractors, and then they're always doing surveys with homeowners. So homeowners are kind of saying what they want to see. I think it's a combination of all those things, and the research and development team just kind of combines everything and decides from there what do we need to add? What's the best options for people?
I love the idea that you guys talk to the homeowner end user as well. I mean, I guess you do some retail sales, I guess theoretically, but to get that input from the ground source as opposed to through a filter of an installer, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And you guys, that I brought the question up because I've heard most of the feedback is everything you said. They love the feedback, talk, talk, talk. So I did want to highlight that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Good. We went a little bit sideways there, but talking about evolving from thermostats into the ecosystem and things like that, I think the part that gets missed really is installers are installing pieces. One here, one there. Customers have pieces already, one here, one there. A lot of people say, oh, my customers don't get into automation. And I challenge them on that. Next 10 customers you go visit, ask them if they have an Alexa or if they have a Google Home. Just ask them that one question. Because I mean, I don't consider that necessarily automation, but it's a stepping stone into it.
They're
You know,
100%. Jeff, I'm going to be straight up with you. Like, I'm an old school girl. I come into this business, way before anything was automated. And so I was very anti-app, when I first started. And here I am, now, and I've got an SC5 in my house, a smoke detector and CO alarm. And I'm starting to see the benefits of some of this automation and having the option of, keeping my pets safe when I'm out having dinner, or I'm at work or I'm out at work and I know I'm going to get an alert if there's something happening in the house. I wouldn't have that if I didn't buy into this program. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm starting to realize the benefits, and I'm finding myself jumping on board more than I ever thought I would. And I think more and more customers are going to do that. And Resideo is trying to make that happen by saying, hey, you can do this all from one app. This is part of the reason you're giving pushback is because everybody wants you to go on their app today, right? Your insurance company, the grocery store, like everybody wants you to use their app. It's overwhelming. But if you can, simplify it and put it all into one app, people are far more apt to jump on board, and find it easier to control.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I like your analogy, your own personal analogy there, because, I'll use my dad as an example. And like I said at the beginning, he listens to these quite often, so he'll chuckle. But, when I first started at Aartech, he was not into automation. He just thought it was kind of cool because I was doing it. And he went out and bought like an $8 plug-in lamp on module. He turned, some one-off,
Yeah.
no-name brands. And it got him frustrated really quickly. We don't need to talk about, those one-off brands they typically do. But even when he started to get into it and I put in a couple good devices for him, his idea of automation was turning the lights off on my mom when he's at the restaurant. My mom's at home watching TV. Like he thinks that that's funny and he likes to show that to his friends. And it is funny. He used to play with the dog or turn lights on for the dog. But over a few months and now several years, he's using it as an automation system. When they plan to go away on vacation, let's make some tweaks to the automation to throw some randomness in there, make sure a little bit different. So, we put in a button beside the bed. So when he gets up in the middle of the night or something, he could hit a button and turn on the lights for the dog, whatever the case may be. So they're starting to understand how it turns into automation versus just a voice control, right?
And how it helps your life, like your simple
Yeah.
day-to-day life.
Yeah.
That was what was a kicker for me. Like when the Elite Pro first came out, Resideo gave us all sales reps a display with a doorbell on, and they said, okay, go set this up. And I was dreading it. Because I thought, oh, it's just going to be a disaster trying to get this all figured out and everything connected. It was so easy. And I'm somebody that's not, super app oriented. It was so easy. That my new sales pitch, I was telling guys, it's so easy. A baby can do this. It is simple. It's super simple now. And I think they've just realized and, simplify things for people and keep things consistent.
Yeah.
Like, the Elite Pro thermostat and the app is all sort of the same base as what our phones are now. Like, scrolling to get what you need instead of like hitting a button to get to the next page, or it's all sort of, they've based everything around what we're all used to doing with our cell phones. And
Yep.
so it's just becoming easier and easier.
Yeah, and I think that's when a customer comes back to me and says either A, their customers don't get into automation, or that they don't want to. And I just sit there, I kind of push back, to be honest, and my customers can attest to this, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is. And if your customer
Exactly.
pushes back and says, well, I don't want to get into, or I don't do automation, my favorite question, and it was one of my customers that told me this, the first thing I do is, okay, Rebecca, when you get home from work at 6 p.m., what's the first five things you do? And all of a sudden there's the start of an automation system. It's like, well, what if,
Yes.
when you did this triggered, or what if when you opened the door the coffee maker automatically went on, or whatever the case may be. And I think you have to paint a bit of that picture for both our customers as installers, so that they can understand and visualize their customers, but to be able to paint that for the customers, because they just don't know. Because again, probably, I don't know, 60% of the devices out there are one-offs. I think it's
Sure. Yeah.
slowly people are starting to realize, okay, well, 10 things don't talk very well when I'm actually trying to build an automation routine. And
Yes.
and the final
And
piece why I like, sorry, Rebecca, the final piece why I like your ecosystem is when they do get into voice control and things like that, it's just a little bit easier, right? Like turn on automation should trigger when you walk in the room, as opposed to having to tell my Alexa to turn on something, right? So that's my idea
100%.
of automation.
100%. And you know what? The guys like your dad and me, like we go and we tell our story to people too, right?
Yeah.
So then you pique the interest of another guy that's not usually sort of a tech oriented guy. And then they realize that it's easy. And then they tell two friends and so on, right?
And everybody's got a different I hate to use the word, but I'll use it anyways, addiction point. Like everybody has a different kind of life and how they're going to use the devices. And what actually got my dad over the hump was the video doorbell. I put in a very simple video doorbell one day for him, and that just changed his world. He's not there, he can see who's there. Is anybody trying to wiggle the door? So anyways, that was
It's yeah,
a
it's
big part of
fantastic.
his automation for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're gonna see more and more people, nobody likes change, right? Nobody likes
Yeah.
change, but I think it's getting to the point where people are starting to realize like, I have no control over change. Things are changing. I need to jump on board here or I'm gonna fall behind. And so people are starting to um be more interested in that type of thing, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. Again, I'm going to ask you an impossible question and ask you for an answer nonetheless. So we kind of talked about what a next step would be for thermostat, but let's actually build a case study for somebody. So let's kind of make it real, as I like to say. So if give me a super simple example of, hey, I'm already on a job, I'm already doing thermostats. What's an easy add-on? And again, I know we talked theoretically, but what would you suggest? Is there something out there that's just super popular that you can't keep in stock?
Yeah, there's of all the things that you can add onto the First Alert app, I would say there's three things that I always call it the big whoop of First Alert. Like so,
Like that?
contractors will go in and they'll say to me, what's the big whoop with your leak detector? And I'll say, well, what the big whoop is that if you're not home and you have a leak, you're going to get an alert right away, and you can deal with that right away. Not come home, 4 hours later and find out water's been spewing out of your water heater all day long, right?
Right.
Um, it's a big whoop. I mean, that's a big deal, and it's saving people a ton of money in insurance costs. Um, floods, you have one crack. So if you have a flood and the insurance covers you, you've been covered. You don't get flood coverage ever again. So we've even seen restoration companies that are jumping on board with these leak detectors because they know that even if they've done the job through an insurance company, it's only a one, like they're never going back to that customer again for a leak. So
Totally.
they'll upsell them and sell them on a leak detection system. Now, the leak detection system is basically a puck that on the ground that tells you, hey, we sense water. It's got a cord that's a wicking, like it brings water to it or moisture to it, and it basically will set off an alarm or send you an alert, a notification, and saying like a leak has been detected. And it can be working in conjunction with a main water shutoff. So the main water shutoff valve is also on the app and working with the leak detector. So if there is a leak detected, it will automatically shut off your main water. amazing if you're down in Florida and your water heater leaks, because people have come home to 4 feet of water in their basement because the water heater leaked, and it just leaked and leaked and leaked the whole time they were gone. Well, now I've got an alert, and yeah, I'm in Florida, but at least I can call my next door neighbor and say something's
For sure.
happening next door.
Yeah.
Can you go in my house and look? Or, so that's a biggie. And then the SC5, which is the Wi-Fi smoke and CO detector. That's
Yep.
another one that's a really good upsell because, like I mentioned earlier, for pets, I mean, let's face it, people love pets more than they love people,
Yep.
and they want to save their pets. And so, up in cottage country, we're selling a ton of them because these
Oh, great. Yeah.
cottagers will have, they've got these high priced dogs and cats that they've paid for these, purebred animals, and they want to go out and have a steak dinner or go down to the beach, and they don't want something to happen to their pet while they're gone, or have a smoke situation or a CO situation while they're gone. So that's another biggie. We're seeing a ton of that. I put one of those SC5s in my house, and I was kind of like, again, poo-pooing the whole technology thing. But I had an experience the other day that was really opened my eyes again to the technology and how good it is. I was cooking some bacon, and I cooked it a little too long, and it was burning a bit and smoking.
Yep.
And so the smoke went over to the detector, and her voice came on and said, there's been a smoke situation. You have 30 seconds to shut it off before the main alarm goes. And I just had my phone right there, and I just shut it off. Whereas usually I would have had to walk away from the bacon with a tea towel and go wave like crazy over the smoke detector to turn it off, right? Well, I knew it wasn't a fire, so I was able to just turn it off from my phone.
Sure.
This is amazing. Like, it just saved me from having to walk away from the bacon and the burner being on and the smoke detector going off.
Sure.
So that's a huge upsell. And then I would say the third one is probably the cameras, either the video camera or the indoor outdoor cameras. Outdoor cameras, obviously, to keep your property safe, and you can see, if anybody's nosing around or anything's happening. And then the indoor cameras, sometimes like for babysitters, or they want to, homeowner wants to watch. They've got contractors coming in doing a renovation on their kitchen. They might want to watch, what's going on, make sure people are working, that kind of thing. So yeah, it can all be done, from that same app. So they could be at work, and they could, look at the thermostat temperature and see that there's no smoke situations, and watch outside the house, or know if anybody's at the front door, like just combining a ton of different things onto one app.
Yeah, no, you hit the two of the three that I wanted to talk about, which was great, the leak detection and the SC5. So that's great. And the smoke shut off. I mean, I was at my niece's birthday party last weekend, and a lot of people in the house, and my sister, she wanted French fries as part of her birthday dinner. So my poor
Yeah.
sister was trying to do batch after batch of French fries in the oven, and same thing, smoke goes off, triggers the smoke alarm, and there's me holding my niece over my head as we're waving a towel at the smoke detector to try and get it to go off, only to have it go off again 3 minutes later when another bout of smoke hits it. So I really like that shut off, especially in that situation, and not having to walk away from the potential damage to go deal with the smoke detector. I mean, that seems like it's almost creating its own safety hazard if you're walking away from the bacon that triggered it in the first place. So I definitely think that,
Yes.
I think that's key. And then the leak detection one I want to touch on, though, because I was hoping you'd go down this route. Again, the pushback that I get from installers, whether it's educated or not, is some of my customers don't want automation. And leak detection is not an option. You said this, and I wanted to hit on that real quick. I've had customers call in a panic saying, I cannot renew my insurance until ... I had a problem. They won't keep my policy unless I do ... And for me, it's about savings. I use my best friend all the time as an example. He's got a sump pump in the basement, runs about 75% of the time. So when that thing shuts off, like that's within an hour or two, he's potentially got a problem. So that can trigger a lot of different ways, whether it's water or power metering or whatever it could be. So I don't consider leak protection automation anymore. I think it's it's a proactive, preventative action that's being mandated by a lot of people. So I think if a customer does push back and say, I'm not into automation, this is kind of the workaround to get them going. And to your
There's and
point,
there's and there, sorry, Jeff, to cut you
yeah,
off, but there's
yeah,
actually insurance kickbacks too now.
yes.
So some of the insurance companies, actually, I think all of them now are offering a certain percentage. There's a couple different styles of leak detectors out there, but they are offering. I think the most common I'm hearing is 5 or 10%
Right.
off of homeowner insurance if you have one of these leak detection systems in your place. So
That's a great point. Yeah, because it's almost it can essentially pay for itself after a couple of years. And these systems that we're talking about, we're not talking about thousands of dollars, right? So, I mean,
no, they're
you know,
they're very reasonably priced.
for sure, especially for what they protect.
Yes.
And
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 the
to
and the
go
leak
ahead.
detector, sorry, leak
Yeah.
detector, we're doing we just did a condo building in Toronto and they put in 600 of these leak detectors. And so they put them in like different parts of the, one near the washing machine, one near the um near their under the sink, under the kitchen sink, wherever they've
Yep.
had leaks in the building. And we just received an email from them recently saying, thank you so much. We've already saved so much money in insurance costs by leaks that they had 7 leaks that were detected that in the past would have been an insurance claim for them.
And when you're talking about a multi-residential, multi-floor building, I mean, one leak can be catastrophic, right? So, filtering down, and we have those conversations with property management all the time. So that's definitely a good one. And to your point, from several levels that we've talked about already, if it's quote unquote not automation, and we're putting in a leak protection system to protect our customer and or insurance, once they get in and they play with the damn platform, once they see a couple things start to happen, it is addictive. I think
It
there's just
is.
that fear factor to jump in, and again, you hear all the time, like my dad's experience. If you don't know what you're doing in the beginning, it can be very frustrating and certainly deter you from wanting to do more. But in this case, if an installer comes in, does a great job on the leak protection, sets up the app, gets them going, maybe does one little baby upsell on top of that to try to get them really into the automation side. Once they've popped in and out, it's a really slick app, sorry. So yeah, I think it would become addictive pretty quick from there.
For sure. For sure.
Good. So we've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but a lot of installers are likely thinking like, this sounds great, but I don't want callbacks. I don't want headaches. I hear about networking all the time, and we talk to our installation partners to, put in their own Wi-Fi network and that kind of thing to have some control. But people that are hesitant because they don't want the callbacks or the headaches when the network goes down, when the system hiccups. Do you have anything you would say to that?
Honestly, I haven't heard of a lot of problems with the system going down. Um, so far anyway, and First Alert does have an incredible tech support line. I did have a couple contractors that had questions that I wasn't able to answer, so I sent them over to the First Alert tech line, and they were fantastic. But I think they've ironed out a lot of issues. I haven't heard of any problems. There's a lot of over the air updates that happen, and I haven't heard of anybody saying, "Oh, there was an update and now I can't log in," or any of that stuff. So I've seen very little of that.
Perfect. And I think that, yeah, I think again, this is a lot of feedback from people that were merging different systems as opposed to bringing in one manufacturer like yourself that kind of owns the whole most of the ecosystem, where or you've got your friends that you're playing with now as well. So I think the
Right.
setup simplicity is night and day from where it was, say, 5 years ago. Would you agree with that?
100%. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's come a long way.
And because of that, the ecosystem design itself, the automation system itself, if you're all under one app, just much simpler. I've got a couple brands that I won't name that, some will show up on my Alexa, some will show up on my hub, some won't. Like there's just no
Right.
predictability when you start crossing over. And the reliability, Ali's heard me say this before, bad networks kill good installs. So, I think if the network is reliable, if you're on Wi-Fi or whatever the case may be, I think that's more often the problem than say your app reliability, right?
Oh, I totally agree with that. That is actually that's a great line. That is a
Yeah.
great line. It's so true.
No, I appreciate that. And again, I think a lot the complication argument I think is over, especially with your kind of all in one app scenario. I there's just not any excuse to get into this, at least at the ground level, any further.
Yeah, I agree. And I think more people are going to jump on board with this sort of platform of, hey, let's combine a bunch of stuff into one, because um, people are overwhelmed if it's too much coming at them in too many different ways. But like you said, if it's a bad network, it kills it, right? But if you're working with them and they have good service and good support, um, we're going to see more and more people jumping on board because it's the way of the future.
Agreed. And we did a podcast recently talking about, kind of that's where that line came from, is where the, bad networks kill good installs. So we have that podcast. So maybe Ali, we could throw that link up in at some point in the comments there or wherever. Okay, so let's push it a little bit further here now. So again, we kind of said if some of the pushback is my customer's not into automation, doesn't want the hassle of, but we get them in there with the basics like the thermostat and the leak shutoff. To me, that's very, very simple in today's standard world. So one step further, let's add a camera and a doorbell kind of a thing. Still one app, correct?
Yes. Yes.
You
Still
know,
one app. And honestly, I'm one of those question askers. So when they came out with the doorbell, I'm thinking to myself, well, I got the Ring doorbell, right? Like, why would I want to combine? Like, why would I want that on my thermostat? Like, why do I care? And one of the guys at Resideo's uh, product development team said to me, what if you have a babysitter at your house? They don't have the app on their phone. So if
interesting.
somebody's ringing the doorbell, they're not able to pick up their phone and see who's at the door. They might just go to the door and answer the door, and you don't need them to be answering the door. But if they've got it on the thermostat in the house, they can see, oh, it's just the Amazon guy dropping off a package for the owners or whatever it is, right? I never thought of that. Another analogy they gave me was, what if you're in your kitchen cooking and you got your hands into a bowl of ground beef that you're making burgers, and you're smushing up your ground beef and the doorbell rings. You don't want to grab your phone with your greasy fingers, but it's easy to walk away from the bowl and just walk over to the thermostat and have a look, right?
Yeah, that's a great
So
point.
there's definitely some benefits to it. And then indoor and outdoor cameras. I mean, that's I think for security and safety reasons, people are doing that now, and it's gone beyond safety and security reasons. We did a presentation when the doorbell first came out. One of the guys in British Columbia, that works for Resideo, sent a video of a bear on his front porch. And he
Right.
said, this is amazing. Like, this camera, it actually recognized, like, it sent him an alert and said, you have an animal on at your door. It knew it was an animal by the way it moved and stuff. So he gets this alert, oh, I've got an animal. And he looks, and it was a black bear on his front porch. So he sent it to all of us. And one of the top guys at Resideo lives down in Florida. He said, well, we have a different kind of animal alert here. And he sent us a video from his doorbell camera, and it was a little gecko that had gotten up on the doorbell and crawled over the camera, and you could see this gecko crawling around, and it was amazing. And again, he got the, I think you have an animal at your front door
Yeah.
alert. Yeah, so it's really cool, like what you can do and what it sees and what it knows, and just the safety and the security of it now, and also being able to use the Resideo doorbell or the Amazon Ring doorbell, I think is also a plus, because a lot of people might want to put in this Elite Pro thermostat, but they already have the Ring system. They don't want to buy another doorbell. They're set up already. Well, they can
Sure.
they can combine it in with all the other things.
And I brought the doorbell up specifically because again, I think like the thermostats, that's one that actually has done extremely well in the market. I think a big percentage of the population has put in a simple video doorbell for all the reasons that we just kind of said. And I really like your analogy about the babysitter. Again, I would use my parents. They're babysitting for my nieces and nephew all the time. And when they're over there, that would be a perfect example. They're over there. They can't answer the doorbell. They don't know who's at the door. If it's a younger
Yeah.
babysitter, maybe you just don't want them to necessarily, but that's definitely a key one. And to the camera side, I like how you worded that about the animals, because again, automation is unique to everybody. So my concern as a homeowner might be security. But somebody else's concern might be not security, and they've got, my girlfriend, she lives 3 hours north of the city, and I've got a camera in her backyard just watching the wildlife walk by.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? So yeah, it totally depends on what you're trying to do, but that's the uniqueness of the system, right? Totally customizable to what you need or want.
Exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of people too, they actually get joy out of like watching these videos and see who's at their door and they have laughs. Or you even have, I was at a friend's house the other day and I was at the wrong townhouse and I'm ringing the doorbell and somebody ran out of the other townhouse and said, "You're at the wrong townhouse." And I could see they had a ring doorbell. So of course I leaned in and I was like, "Sorry, wrong house." Because I knew that somebody was going to be like, "Who is
Sure.
this person at our door?"
Yeah.
Right. So you can kind of have fun with it all too. And
Yeah.
I think another important thing to mention too is with the doorbell, there is a non-subscription package that comes with the doorbell as well. So you can, I believe it's like 7 days. You can save footage for 7 days
Oh, wow.
and clips for 7 days. And then it just renews every set, like it just deletes it after the seventh day kind of thing and makes room for
Sure.
the new day. So that's nice too. There are subscription options if you want to be one of those people that saves videos and, goes on TikTok and shows what's going on your front door, like people do. You can do that, but there is a non-subscription package as well, which is nice because not everybody wants to pay for nothing happening at their front door, right?
Death by a thousand cuts is the subscription world right now, to be honest, right? So it doesn't seem like much, $7 here, $8 there, but man, and when you look at your bank statement at the end of the month, it sure does add up. So it is nice that they have some
Oh yeah.
options based on that. And again, like my girlfriend's teenage son and his friends coming up and down, like it's funny sometimes they're doing silly things once in a while. So it is kind
Yeah,
of fun just as a family moment in general, I think.
it is. I think it is a lot of fun. People are really having fun with it and sending messages to their neighbors by just going to the doorbell and talking to it and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of fun things going on for sure.
Yeah, and again, to go back to your, I'll call it doggy cam for a second. One of my friends, he put an indoor camera in just to watch his bird while he's at work. Just literally just sits there and focuses on the bird all the day long. So hey,
I'm
everybody's got
guilty.
their thing.
Yeah, guilty. I've got one for my cats and I can talk through it. So sometimes I'll be at a work event and I'll be with people and I'll be like, "Watch this." And I'll turn on the camera and I'll start talking to the cats and you'll see them freaking out and everybody's watching. I got a bunch of people in a restaurant with me watching. But yeah, there's just so many. You're right. You can customize it to your needs. All these different options is, what do you need it for? What's good? What do you got contractors working in your kitchen? You want to watch a babysitter that you think is shady? Like, what do you need it for?
Yeah, and I used it was an older version of the same thing we're talking about, but I used to hire a dog walker, and automation proved to me that they were not doing the 1 hour walk that they were supposed to be doing and charging me for. So again, there's a million different ways you can use it. So yeah, I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
yeah, I don't want to take up too much more time. I think we've had a great conversation, but let's kind of do a big takeaway here. If someone listening takes only one step after this, again, tough question when we've got a wide audience, but what should it be? Is it a website they should visit? Is it a product they should go buy and play with themselves? Ask the right question to a certain customer. What would you say?
I would say look at customer.resideo.com and put your cursor over products and just go in and look around at some of the stuff that's there. Most people's minds are blown. Like they have no idea all the different options and different things that are available to them. I would say that, and then also download the First Alert app. Download it just to look at what's there. You
Great point.
can take it off if you decide you don't want it, but
Yeah.
download it and look at all the options of all the different things that you can add on to that app. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. And okay, and let's really, really simplify this for somebody because I'm sure a few people are excited and I love the idea of downloading the app without investing any money so you can get a feel for it, see what's in there in terms of the ecosystem, but also just the app itself. Some apps are way more functional and easier to use than others, and yours does a really, really good job, and I've always heard good things about. So yeah, I definitely like that idea.
Yeah, the
And
app's great, and we have awesome support for the app. Like there's a great support system, and you're not waiting for hours to get somebody to answer the phone. A person actually answers. It's not one of those, leave your number and we'll call you when it's convenient for us. There's somebody picks up the phone and answers.
perfect. And I guess if I was to suggest, maybe a customer to buy one thing, it being our customer installers to try one thing, I think what we hit on, the thermostat, the leak protection, and maybe one of the cameras, I think those are probably really good options because they tie in with most customers. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I would also add the SC5, and that
Oh,
SC5 is
great.
amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you very much.
SC5 is just, it's one of the best inventions I think ever. And yeah, combined with the Elite Pro thermostat, the leak detector, and the cameras, it's just a really nice complete package.
Yeah, start small, but just get started, right? I mean, I think that's the key. And again, I've seen this in the past when I've encouraged customers to introduce it to their customers. Is it's addictive when they get in there. I've got some customers that give away a piece of automation device when they're in a job anyways, just to say here, because once they get that set up, then the addiction begins. So,
It is
um,
so addictive that the Elite Pro thermostat, they have added in functionality to change like colors of backgrounds and different things so you can like make it match your decor. And
great point.
it is incredible how many people once they start playing with the colors and the displays and they're like, "Oh, this is amazing. Like I can match this to my lilac wallpaper or I can match this to my black background in my living room or whatever." It's unbelievable what you can do with these, and they're so easy to navigate. You can just go through and play around. I would say a starting point is probably the Elite Pro thermostat. If you have nothing yet,
Okay.
start with an Elite Pro thermostat. It's very competitively priced with all the other smart Wi-Fi thermostats on the market, and then you will see all the different things on this app that you can kind of put in there with it.
And a few people listening are probably rolling their eyes at your comment about the changing the background on the thermostats and things. But again, I'll speak from my side of things. When you get into the big homes, what we used to call $1 million home, now probably a $10 million home. But when you get into those bigger homes, these things are spec'd to the installers in a lot of cases, like an interior designer or an architect or something like that. Those people care about that stuff,
They
and they're
do.
the ones that often are making not the recommendation, the demand. Here's what you're going to install, and the installer just does what they're told. So I think it's a key point. It's a great selling feature to the customer, don't get me wrong, but I really
Yeah,
think that it does open it up to a wider market there.
I agree with you. It's a big deal, especially for some of the custom home builders, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, was there anything else that you wanted to kind of touch on, Rebecca?
No, I think you've kind of covered everything. I think it was great and I had a lot of fun doing it. And you guys have my contact information if you have customers that have questions that you can't answer. Um, I always say we can't know everything in this industry anymore. We would have to throw away childhood memories if we knew everything. So it's all about finding the information. If you don't know it, reach out. Your customers, you guys are happy, more than welcome to share my contact information with your customers. If anyone has any questions, they're always welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help, clear things up or get them answers or find out what they need to know.
Perfect. Great transition into my last couple lines. What customers that are working with us already hopefully know this, that what separates us from most of our key competitors is the personal support and service that we offer internally. So if you're new to automation and you're looking for a jumping point, if you've got a customer that's interested in this and you just don't know where to start, give us a call. We can walk you through some qualifying questions. I've even jumped on some end user calls with my customers before, act on their behalf to help them speed up the learning curve. So we've got in-house experts that can support you there. If you're not a customer of the Aartech Pro side, so if you're a pro installer and you're not a member yet, please reach out to aartechpro.ca. We'll get you set up with a dedicated account manager. So you've got a single point of contact for all of this kind of stuff. And if we need support, Rebecca's here for a reason because we get fantastic support. We don't do this with all of our vendors by any means. So definitely, internally, if we need to go for support, Rebecca and our team have been fantastic. So I definitely appreciate
It's
that.
It goes the same back with you guys too. Like I don't even work for Aartech, but I can attest that you do have some experts there. And I have sent some HVAC contractors to you guys for some help, and everyone I've sent to you for help has called me back very impressed with the service they got and very impressed with the products they got. So thank you also for taking care of some of my customers. You guys do it very well.
Much appreciated. Excellent. Well, I look forward to continuing the relationship, bigger and better success every day. I encourage customers just to take that one step forward. Take a look at the website that, as Rebecca suggested, grab one simple product, install it in your house, improve your own quality of life, and then you become a case study for your end customers as well. So thank you very much, Rebecca. Very much appreciate the time. Looking forward to our webinar a little bit later, which we'll probably add the link to this at a later date as well. But yeah, no, much appreciated.
Thank you guys so much. That was really fun, and I hope we can do it again as new products emerge. That was fun. Thanks a lot.
So thanks very much, and Ali, appreciate the support as always.
Thank you for joining us. That has been another episode of the Aartech Pro Connect podcast. We'll be back with more discussion soon. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Bye-bye.